Hey, it's Tuesday, Total Schmidt Show, 6 o'clock. Let's do this.
Hey, tune in every week as I travel the world and I talk to entertainers from all over the world. A lot of writers, a lot of comics, a lot of dancers, a lot of singers, a lot of comics, a lot of producers, a lot of tech people, a lot of comics, a lot of piano player type people. You know what I'm talking about. Musicians and lots of comics. Every once in a while, we'll throw in a comedy sketch, something like that, some music, some travel stuff. We'll even do a live remote from one or two of the ports they happen to be hanging out at.
That's it. That's the whole show. And I'm going to record it all and put it on the intraweb. Sometimes. Usually late. Always late. Maybe. I don't know. And weekly? No. Maybe. Sort of.
Either way, sit back, grab a beer, light a joint, and enjoy this week's episode of
Hey, what's up? It's Tuesday, Total Schmidt Show. How you doing? Look, I'm in a hotel room. Oh my gosh, I'm not in a cruise ship. How weird. How weird is that? Thanks for watching the show. Do me a favor, like the video real quick. There's a thumbs up thing there somewhere. I can do this. Usually it pops up. Okay, and it won't this time. Perfect. Watch the give it a thumbs up before you realize you don't like the video. That's how you make this happen for me. Subscribe to the channel if you can, please. It costs you nothing. It helps me out a ton. I do the show once a week or put it up once a week. It streams on YouTube and podcast. Follow us on social media, Mr. Lenny Schmidt, all that stuff. Let's just get right to it. My good friend Richie Holliday I worked with last week. If you notice, my eye shifted from here to here. I'm still learning that on the phone. Richie Holliday last week. Dude, I love Richie. He's a great comic. He's one of those guys that I love to work with the most because he cares about his craft and he puts work into it and writes every day and focuses. And I mean, that's the type of stuff. That's why I started this show, was to talk to entertainers that dissect their show constantly to try to make it better. And Richie does that. And it's a pleasure to work with him. He's a funny dude. He's just got a great sense of humor. I love working with him. It was a blast hanging with him for the week. And I luckily had my equipment with me, so I was able to record this episode of Total Schmidt Show with Richie Holliday. Sit back, enjoy my conversation with my friend. Perfect. Hi, Richie.
Hi. How are you, Lenny? So good to see you.
You have no idea how many videos I have of me restarting. Oh,
hey,
wait.
How you been?
I'm good, man. This travel thing. It's really neat that with only 3 days with someone I like, you sometimes, I don't like who the guy is. And then I avoid them and go, I don't have my podcast stuff with me.
I'm sleeping, man. I just need to catch up.
I got a whole thing to do.
I think I've got COVID.
I think I know it coming on. I'll see you later. Okay, bye. So, anyway, I screwed up the recording again. This will surprise none of my regular followers, all 6 of them.
Hey, Lenny.
Hey, you screwed up
It's
again.
par for the course.
Well, I used to do the show live. I do the show live sometimes.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And early on, I really had no idea what I was doing. I'm the type where I just dive in and start doing it and then learn as I go along. But I would, and when you do it live, people can comment on the show. They ask questions and everything. And a lot of people would go, no sound. I go, oh, thanks. They're helping me get through the videos.
That's the way you got to do it. You know, I had a drummer on the ship one time go, hey, man, how do you do stand-up? How do you do it? I go, I don't know. You just
do it. Yeah.
He's like, yeah, man, I study and I write. And all I could think of was like, you watch baseball, you like baseball, you want to be a baseball player, right? You can study all the stuff you want, but until you get in the batter's box and try and hit a fastball.
That's a really good analogy. I never heard it put that way.
Yeah. I mean, you can study it all day long, but until you're standing there, nothing.
I get people ask some guy on this ship I was on to last week I worked off him on the crowd. And he came up afterwards and he was talking to me about being, and I go, and he did say things, how do you do it? I go, dude, you got to get on stage. I go, that's the only way you
do it is just get up.
I go, and dude, I'll be honest with you, dude. I go, you're funny. You have timing. I can tell you do. By the way, I talked to you from the crowd.
Yeah.
He's like, you think so? I go, yeah, but you can have all the timing in the world. Some of the funniest people I know are not stand-ups.
No.
They couldn't do it. They couldn't. It's a whole different.
Yeah, it's different being funny than bringing it to stage.
Right. We talked about this week about how we're weird. There's a weird element to us about stand-up. And the thing I always say to people is this: I go, this is how stand-up gets you. Is you go up, The first time I went up, I killed, right?
Yeah.
But it was 3 minutes. I didn't know. I'm like, yes, I'm going to be I'm going to be the new Eddie Murphy. I was so excited.
Yeah.
But then I sucked for weeks. I couldn't figure out a laugh. I couldn't, and I had always had mannerisms and stuff before material. I go, comedy gets you this way. When you do go up and you do suck, one of two things happen. You go, well, I'm never doing that again. Or you go, I got to fix that. And if you keep going back to fix it, that's the weird part.
Yeah.
I think that's what we do.
Yeah, and it's such a weird drug. It's like if you have 20 comics at an open mic and you watch, and like 12 of them, it's just like a one-time thing, like a bed or like a bucket list thing.
Right.
And then you have 2 that are like, they're going to make it. And then you
Right.
have like 5 or 6 of them that it's going to ruin their life.
Yeah.
Because they'll get just good enough,
Yeah.
but they're not good. You
No,
know,
but then they'll be drunk in Omaha
yeah,
somewhere,
Yeah.
watching a guy on TV. I auditioned for that, man. Last comic standing. It should have been me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a weird drug. It's like a weird thing.
But I like to see guys. Put work into it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you don't see that a lot anymore. We talked a little about that earlier. The younger guys, they get funny on the internet for a couple of minutes and they go, "Oh, I can be funny all the time." And you're like, "Yes, great," but you got to be able to. The real mark of a comedian, get up on stage in front of a room full of people that don't know who you are.
Yeah.
And work a crowd that's tough.
Yeah.
And succeed and make them laugh.
Because you have to earn them. I mean,
right.
I think most audiences, when you walk on stage, they're like, "Oh, we hope you're good."
Of course, yeah.
Like, there's very few audiences that are like, "Prove it."
Right.
Every once in a while, you run into some people in the front row or like
Some jaded rooms in LA are like that. Like the bigger city, New York does that too.
Okay.
There's rooms where they're just like,
Never
bring it, dude.
Yeah.
Better be good. You know, you have no idea who we've seen in here. You know, that's just their way.
Mm-hmm.
But they're still secretly, they want you to do it. They might be tougher.
Yeah.
Some people might be more open and laugh at everything just because they want to have a good time.
Yeah.
But no matter what, they don't want to see you bomb.
No.
I hate to see someone that hurts physically.
Although when I watch a really good comic bomb,
No, that's funny as hell.
it's like the greatest because you know how good they are.
Right.
And the first time they hit that joke and they're like,
There's nothing.
What happened? Did I tell the joke? Oh, you see the wheels going.
Yeah.
And then it's just boom, boom, boom. It's so funny to watch.
And usually the hardest laughs in the room are the comics in the back of the room. They're dying. They're just like,
because we've all been there.
right. Yeah, right.
Every one of us. I worked with a guy who's young. I don't know who it was, but he was host at this club in St. Louis, Fairview Heights. Anyways, he's like, "So what do you think it takes to be a real comedian?" To me, one of the marks is like when you eat it and you eat it hard, and then you're like, "Well, I got another show later," and you just get back up and do it again.
Sure. Yeah. Right.
He goes, "Well, then I'm not a real comic because I've never eaten it."
Oh boy. You're right.
And then that late show, you're watching and you're like, "Okay, maybe this is the one." And he goes, "Man, wasn't that great?" You're like, sure.
Yeah, I have a couple of friends that tell me. Still, one guy that works shifts. I don't want to mention his name. He's like, "I've never eaten it. I just don't eat it. I don't. I refuse to eat it." I'm like, "All right, whatever."
I will say this. Here's what I think. This is the way I look at it. So you get to a certain point, right? You start off and your peak is here, right?
Right.
But your bottom is like terrible.
Right.
And then it just gets better and better. You can't get once you like if you get to that point where you get a standing ovation, you can't get a better response than that, right?
Right.
But then what I think happens is the basement comes a little higher. So your bombs aren't there.
Yeah, that makes sense. Right. Because like there's a different definition of eating it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I was hosting this gig in LA.
Right.
And there's a ton of open micers that would come in. And there were some that were actually, there was a couple of guys that were really funny.
Yeah.
And they had written down jokes. And I was like, one dude, and I would tell him afterwards, I go, "Dude, you're good. You're a good writer.
Yeah.
Keep at it." And I would tell him the same bullshit advice I got when I was younger.
Right.
What do I do? Keep writing. That's so stupid. And when you get older, you realize, oh, that's the best. It's true.
Yeah.
That's the only definition. But there's a couple of guys that were on my show. We're not funny, you know, and they would eat it. I mean, eat like not funny.
They have laugh ears.
What's laugh ears?
You ever watch somebody on stage and it goes fine?
Yeah.
You're like, yeah. But
And they think they killed?
"Oh man, you have crushing." You're like, Was I at the same show?
Dude, I know a couple. There's some people on ships that
Okay.
I've seen that are like, I destroyed last night, and you're like, I was at that show. There was no destroying involved.
Right.
You're okay. It
Yeah.
was a decent show.
Yeah.
But I think just like the bar down here
Yep.
is different when you get better, I think the bar up here is the same. If you've only done this good, then you think this is killing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You go, oh, I killed.
Like if you think a 5 is like great,
Right.
Like, man, I just destroyed.
It's what's the word I'm looking for? Is comparison? Is
relativity.
Yeah, there's something about it's. Damn it. Well, it's something to compare it to. It's basically your comparison.
Yeah.
You know, this is my best show ever, and like it's like you're an open micer. Their best show ever is nothing near what maybe our worst show is on the ship.
Yeah.
You know, because on the ships you don't have a lot of leeway. First of all, you can't really eat it on a ship too much because then you're gone eventually.
Right.
You know, you don't. I mean, eventually it's going to catch up with you.
Yeah, it's going to catch up. You get those shows every once in a while. There's like 15 people or 30 people, and it's scattered.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to squeeze anything out of that. You know, but
sometimes those are fun.
they're really fun
because
if there's no pressure.
If those 15 people are there, they want to see. They're there because they want to be there.
Yeah.
So you can have a lot of fun with a small crowd.
Yeah.
You know what's like that is the ships on the Glory. The late night adult show, when you repeat your adult show on the second day or something,
Whatever.
the first adult show is packed. It's that back room,
Yep.
right? That holds what, 200 something people?
Yeah, it's a big
350, whatever. A lot of people. But then the second one has gotten less than 100, less than 80 maybe.
and they're not together.
They're drunk. It's late. They're spread out. And they laugh in pockets, but then you play them differently. You know, I wouldn't play them like I did, like a high energy.
Yeah, like
you know,
last night.
Yeah, you just kind of bounce off the room a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And then you refer to the fact every once in a while that a joke works or doesn't work, or you know what I mean. You start to play the fact because they're in on the joke.
Yeah,
and you don't do. At least I never do it in a derogatory way. I never blame the crowd. I never go, well, if there was more of you, it's not my fault. It's not their. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hate that. There's one that there's a few things that you hear on stage. You're like, all right, I'm out. But one of them is, "Fuck you, that's funny."
Right.
I'm like, well, it wasn't tonight.
Right. It was. Yeah, but you can. I think if you say that as in a funny way,
Sure.
then it works. But then the crowd's in on the joke.
Yeah.
If they're in on it. But if you're really blaming the crowd, because the crowd, some point the crowd's gonna go, no, it's not.
We didn't think it was.
Yeah, it's your job to. It's not our job to, you know.
And it's weird because there's sometimes you're like, this works 99 times out of 100.
Right.
So it's funny.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, it just didn't land tonight.
Right. No, I told that joke I did last night, the Gilligan joke, which is kind of a throwaway, but always gets a big laugh. It got 0 laugh in the first show. And it threw me off so much where I called the crowd in and I go, and I'll always say something like, I'll go, what was that about? I'll go, did you guys have a meeting this afternoon? And something like that. You know,
He makes any Gilligan's Island references.
Yeah.
Just stare.
right, that's it. And then every other joke that doesn't work, I'll do the same thing and I'll call it back throughout the show or whatever. But it completely threw me for a loop. And it's a joke that's usually money, you know?
It's weird when that happens. You just pause and you're like, your brain, you can just you're like, did I tell that joke wrong? Like,
right. Yeah. The first thing I thought was, did I forget the setup wrong?
Yep.
Did I say
something.
What did I say? Tour? Yeah, I say tour, not cruise.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, but then it happened again in the third show. And I was like, okay, there's just, you know what? Maybe that joke's dead.
Yeah.
You know? Maybe you get to reach a point where a joke stops to get the response you want.
That happened to me. We came back from the pandemic, and I had a joke that was one of those tent poles. Like, it was like, this joke is like
money.
And it was the exact opposite. It got nothing. I was like, that was weird.
Right.
So then I just kept, like, it's like, all right, it's an anomaly. It happens. Then 5, 6 show, just stopped working.
Right.
Just overnight. I was like, wow, okay. I guess it's out.
Yeah, I guess it's out. Isn't it funny? It's good that you acknowledge it, though.
Yeah.
Because a lot of comics will keep it and keep doing it and go, no, they'll get, I don't know what's wrong with the crowd. That's how they grow. My buddy Steve, you don't know him, Steve Seagren, he quit doing comedy years ago. He was brilliant, by the way. He was a great comic out of Chicago. But he would, one day I did a show and he goes, how'd it go? And I go, I don't know. I thought it was great. I don't know what the crowd was thinking. And he just lost. He never stopped giving me crap for that.
So funny.
So every time you hit on my Facebook, you go, so like, how was the crew? Did the crowd know you were doing it, whatever? But yeah, you're like, eventually a joke dies, or you have to reword it or change it. Like, I got a bunch of stuff I wrote for COVID, like during COVID.
Yeah.
And the first album I recorded after COVID was called Live With It. And that was the one that we didn't release. The label listened to it after a while and goes, this stuff is kind of dated. I go, is it really? And I'm listening to it and I go, some of it's pretty good. But I took some of it and just reworded it and kind of do it in flashback mode as opposed to more recent that we had to deal with it.
Yeah.
So some of it I could salvage and shoot back. Some of it I had to get rid of.
Yeah.
But you have to constantly, that's the thing that amazes me about a guy like you and comics that really work. You pay attention to your act. Sometimes a joke dies and then you get rid of it. Yep. And then you move on, you write another joke. Or you're aware of it.
Yeah.
You're aware of your act. And you go, you gotta stay relevant. I always say you gotta stay relevant.
Yeah.
And my daughters help me with that big time. They're in their 20s.
They're that age.
So I run everything by them. And they'll go, they're great, and they're funny. They know comedy really well. So
their whole life.
They'll go, do this, Dad, instead of this. Okay, how's this? How's this? How's this? And Anna's so good now, she's like a comic. She'll go, that's great. That's brilliant. That's a really, so she doesn't laugh like we do.
Yeah.
We'll go, that dude's a keeper. You gotta do that for sure.
Yeah.
If she doesn't even laugh, she goes, that's fantastic.
That's
that for sure.
I'm the worst at that. Like, you'll watch somebody and you're just laughing. I like the goofy stuff. And then all of a sudden somebody will do something, you're like, that's really funny.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
You get this like dead.
Oh, man,
I'm like,
that's brilliant.
Dude, that's
genius.
You have no idea how good that was.
Yeah.
It's almost like,
you have no idea. Yeah, no, you don't. You have no idea how brilliant that joke is.
damn it. Like, why didn't I think of
Party
this?
is that. Party's like, ugh.
But then you're just also just like in awe. You're like, wow.
Yeah.
That was so, it's like magic. Better than magic.
There's Louis C.K. and I early on had a very parallel point of view on material.
Oh, okay.
Because we were married around the same time. We had 2 daughters around the same time. We got divorced around the same time.
Wow.
And there's a lot of things that I was talking about that of course, he was Louis C.K.
Right.
And he was doing his thing. He was already writing and
Yeah.
But I saw him, and there was a lot of material I would write that was relatively close. Yeah, it was very close. And I used to do a bit about insufficient funds. I had insufficient funds in the bank, and I couldn't make the bit work, and I kept struggling to get it to work. And then I saw, you ever seen his bit?
Yeah,
it's brilliant. And he's the type. And 4 times I've seen him do a bit and go, all right, well, mine's out.
Yeah.
There's no reason for me to even try to write it now because that was perfect. And his genius. You're absolutely right. I agree. I have insufficient funds.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great bit. We're going to charge you $15 for what? I have no funds.
Oh, I have negative.
I have the opposite of funds. And you watch the whole bit, and you're like, that's genius. It's perfect. So I'm like, why do I even try coming in second?
Yeah, it's like his airplane bit. You're on a chair in the sky.
Yeah, it's a tube. Is that Louis or is that? It is Louis. Yeah, it is. Some guys complain about the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
You're in a metal tube flying through the air. Yeah. Right. Yeah, and you're like, there
goes that bit.
Oh, well, I guess I'll do another dick joke.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes it's like I've done a bit like, and you'll do it for 6 or 8 months, and somebody goes, "Oh, somebody else has got," and you're like, "Okay," and then you walk, and you're like, it's so crazy how it happens.
There's a lot more than people think.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's close. Sometimes you know what? There was a bit I did. It's on one of my albums. It was it was the COVID thing, and the one that we didn't release. But I did a whole bit about how I have no faith on this. The bit is we didn't handle COVID well. And I have no faith if aliens land on this planet. None. So it's a whole bit. And then Bill Maher did a whole thing, the exact same thing. And almost not every joke, but it was close.
Yeah.
And they closed it with, and I go, I don't know if I can do my bit anymore now.
Yeah.
I got it was so close, I think I got to trash it.
Yeah.
Because no matter what, people go, I saw Bill Maher do that. And I go, well, I wrote it a year earlier.
Yeah. But it's funny because it's like that parallel thought is there. It's in the ether, right? You just capture it, and sometimes you get on the thing, you're like, okay, here's the set, and then it just writes itself,
right? And
so if somebody else thinks it's gonna do the same thing, right, yeah, it's crazy how that
well
happens.
Some of us, our minds are pretty close. Comics operate in a different mindset.
It's that whole idea. If you see like a commercial, you put 10 comics in front of write a joke about it.
Right.
7 of them are going to be basically the same joke.
Oh, that makes sense. Sure.
There'll be 2 out here in right field.
Right. Something completely obscure.
Yeah.
Well, also, we're in the position, too, where, like, when you see bits on TV, or guys do them in their specials, especially, you got to just let it go. You got to, people get so mad. My brother's a great writer, too. He's a real good writer. But something will happen, he'll get frustrated. And my answer is always like, I'll write more.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only answer to that is to write more.
Yeah.
And because, unfortunately, we're in a position where our market is here, and their market is here, and they hit more numbers. So when they, you have 2 choices. You do the bit, and you just go, screw it, I'm going to keep it.
Yeah.
Or you write it out, and you write more material.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we have to do.
Yeah. It's always a process.
Yeah. And you're constantly trying to change your act. You're constantly adding stuff to it.
Trying to. Always.
Yeah. Okay, well, this has been great. How long are you're on here, you stay for the next part, right?
Yeah. 3 days next. So, yeah, back to Amber Cove.
Back to what?
Amber Cove, where we were.
Oh, right. Okay.
We signed on. I signed off there again. It's like
you get off there?
Yeah, it's like a reverse of the cruise.
Okay, it's not bad getting off there.
So we went Amber Cove, Grand Turk, Sea Day.
Yeah.
Miami, Sea Day, Grand Turk, Amber Cove.
Oh, so you just go. This place only has 3 ports for the city?
No, they go more the second half of the cruise.
Oh.
And the first half of our cruise.
Oh. Next week is a 6-day too.
Yeah.
I think it's a different number of days.
Yep.
And then they go to those islands sometimes.
Yeah.
The private islands, which are kind of, things are getting crazy now.
Dude, there's the new one that they're building for. It's gonna be like a water park.
Yeah. Well, the one they have for Royal, which is a sister ship of Celebrity that was on.
Okay.
They have everything. They have a couple of bars. Like music. There's a restaurant. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff.
It's crazy.
But they get all the money. It's actually brilliant for these cruise lines. Well, these cruise lines are still chasing that COVID money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, they got crushed during COVID. It's going to take them forever to catch up on that.
Yeah.
But they will.
They will.
They're building more ships.
Yeah.
There's another XL now they approved that they're going to build.
Oh, really?
And then the Celebrity's got one more of their big ships coming out. And I think Royal has one more of those giant ships coming out.
It's like a city at the sea.
Dude, it's insane. Those things are gigantic. You ever seen this big-ass ship parked next to that ship? It's literally twice... You ever seen a picture of the Titanic next to they do a thing? Yeah. Titanic's like a tender ship.
It is tiny.
Yeah, it's really small. These things are gigantic.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, the first time I did a ship, I was on the Elation, and I was parked next to the Fascination.
Right.
I was like, oh my God, they're so huge.
I know, right? And they just keep getting bigger.
Yeah. Yeah. I was there with Percy. My first cruise ever.
Oh, no way.
I had to follow Percy.
No way.
Yeah.
That's wrong. They should have flipped that around.
Dude, it was...
I wouldn't want to follow Percy. In the theater?
He was at the club, and then I was right after him.
Right.
I've never eaten it so hard.
He crushes, man.
Like after the show, I was outside the door, and that chairs outside the lounge.
Right.
Well, at least I got to do it once. Say I worked on his ship.
Well, all right. Well, this was fun.
But to his credit, he goes, "Hey man, let's go upstairs."
Yeah.
He goes, "First off, screw them."
Yeah.
He goes, "They're my people." It's a 3-day out of Miami.
Dude, that's his ship, man. I used to do that. Victory was a 3-day out of Miami. It was the one ship that I got a bad review on all the time. I stopped doing it. I go, I'm not doing the ship anymore.
Well, yeah.
And they were like, why? I go, because I get bad. Why? It's messing up my curve.
Yeah.
Everything else I was doing great. That crowd hated me. I just could not buy a laugh on that 3-day. I remember once. Do you remember Alex Crow? He was.
Yeah.
He was in charge of comedy for a while before Lizette.
Yeah.
I get on the Victory one day and I come walking in and they go. I'm walking up to the showroom and someone goes, "Alex is here." I'm like, they walk into the booth. I look at him and he literally goes, "I know." I go, "You do?" He goes, "Yeah, I know. This is not. I get it. I'm not. It's not your crowd. I get it. I'm not here."
It's good.
I go, "Well, I'm glad. Thank you."
Yeah.
Well, hey, if you'd watch this and go, "What are we doing with this guy?" You know what I mean? And then I'm gone. So
it's hard not to get in your head. It's so hard not to get in your head sometimes.
Right.
Like this is my first XL ship, and like I was legit like, I'm really worried about this.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure coming into the ship because obviously you want more moving forward, and the schedule's so different, and then you just want to hit everything right and do everything
You
right.
just want it to go well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's, I don't know, it's kind of like you feel like, it's probably all in my own head, but you're like, oh, it's like, oh, I get to do that thing. It's like, you know, it's like
it is on your head.
Yeah.
And it's like they want to go, like when I first started doing, when I start doing a new line or any new room you walk into. You're like,
it's all unfamiliar.
Yeah. You're like, I want this to go, you know, I want this to go well. Once you got it figured out, you're like, oh, I'm good, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Right.
I always have the feeling like I wanted to come in and be like, oh, where have you been?
Right.
Instead of, it's fine.
I know.
Like that's just how I.
You know what? I always say this though. I don't have like expectation will kill you, man. And my thing is like when we're talking about being on stage, all the other stuff aside, the hardest part is walking down I-95, meeting the people.
Yeah.
I want to make sure I'm not, you know, everything's cool.
Where you're at.
Yeah,
you're
right.
Lost like 9 times.
But once I get on stage, I usually feel pretty comfortable. I can let myself fall into the moment and go, this part I know.
Yeah.
Like I know the show.
Yeah.
And obviously if I do the show the best I can, it doesn't work, then maybe I don't belong here.
Right.
You know what I mean? Maybe.
Yeah, I go back to, I do meditation. I came and I write, and I wrote, you can control the output, but you cannot control the outcome.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's really smart.
And so I just go back to that all the time.
You write a lot of smart quotes. What was the other one? You live the joke, right? Don't tell the joke, live the joke.
Yeah, don't tell the joke.
What do you just write those? Are you like a prophet? Look at you. You should be sitting Indian style on the top deck. Oh, like Richie, I have a question about the show. There are no questions about the show. There are no shows. But yeah, I don't. Again, once I start doing the shows, I'm fine, dude. I'm looking forward to doing a military run with you, man.
That'd be fun,
dude. That sounds like the most rewarding
got the hat
thing.
on.
Yeah, I know. I almost feel bad. Maybe I should be wearing this hat. I always wanted to do them. I couldn't do them when I was married. My wife would never let me do them.
Yeah.
It sounds like the most rewarding thing. You know, when I've talked to people on ships that were in the military that saw military shows.
Yeah.
And they love it.
Yeah.
They rave about it.
Yeah.
They think it's the greatest thing ever.
It's a really cool experience. Yeah, I don't even know how to put it into words, but it's, I mean, you go and you're just there. It's like, so it feels like there's no promotion and like, oh, you've seen them. Like, it's just, you're there and they show up and you're just a thing. It's, I don't know. It's very symbiotic.
Right.
You know, where like here and sometimes at clubs, you're like, oh, da, da, da. And then after the show, they're like, hey, good job. But that one joke was kind of fun. It was kind of, you know, like, you don't get that at all out there. There's none of this, hey, you shouldn't say or you shouldn't. Like, it's,
right.
We're just so glad you're here. That was so cool. Let's take some pictures. We want to show you the tank.
Well, I think those are also military people.
Yeah.
They live in a completely different world than we do.
Yeah.
You know, like when I talk to my daughters a lot about, and not in a mean way, but I try to explain, and they understand it because they travel.
Mm-hmm.
I go, people don't realize how lucky we are in the U.S., you know, the United States.
Dude.
We're coddled. We had 9/11 and Pearl Harbor. That's it.
That's it.
Our,
I mean, Civil War.
Yeah, well, Civil War, yeah, but then how farther back are we going? Yeah. Let's go back to caveman times,
right?
You know, but other countries, when you're in the military, you go and see stuff in other countries. You're seeing these countries being destroyed. You're seeing parts of the world. You know, you're understanding. So this whole "I'm offended" thing, we're a little too sensitive in this country on some things.
We get pretty sensitive about some things.
Right.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, and it's the completely overreact where people will be like, that's like when we're talking about my daughter being triggered.
Yeah.
I go, oh, I feel triggered. I need a safe space. And I'm like, you know, if we're ever invaded by another country, there are no safe spaces. You know, I mean, that'll never happen, Dad. I'm like, okay, all right, don't. I got. Yeah. You want to say that, but everyone says it. You know, people. I think people are so, and plus, our young generation is so far removed from parents and grandparents that really like in the big war, Vietnam. And now, like now, most of our military. My brother was in the Gulf War. He did the fire pits thing, and he's real sick from that with the lungs and stuff. But that's a different type of presence. They didn't see the type of action. You know what I mean? It wasn't a full on war. And also, those wars. It's not like the country was behind everything. No. And it was all gung ho. It's America. You know, it just kind of disappeared. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very different world. I'm obviously younger, so I can't even
Right.
relate to, like, my dad was just missed being drafted into Vietnam,
Okay.
but my uncle was in Vietnam,
Right.
and he was on the Enterprise, the big ship, and like he didn't go in, but I can't fathom it.
Right.
I mean, I was like, when I was a kid, they call up the recruiters.
Right.
They talk, and then they go, so do you have this? Do you have that? I'm like, I have asthma. They're like, all right, thanks for your time. Hang up. So then they started calling me. I was like, I have asthma. They're like, okay, bye. So it's like, it's such I just sacrifice who you are. I mean, they're government property
Right. Yeah.
for as long as they're in.
Right. Right.
You go here, we tell you to. We have such freedom to do what we do.
Right.
It's such the opposite.
Right. And because they see the world on such a different level, this being offended by a joke probably seems ridiculous to them.
It is so ridiculous.
Where they're like they've seen some stuff.
Yes.
Some really horrible things.
Yeah.
So a joke that triggered, there's no joke to trigger them. They're like, they either laugh or they don't laugh.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, but they usually eat that. Everybody I've met from the military, man, they love it. They're out in the middle of nowhere and they get some comedy. It's like a little taste of home,
Exactly what it is. They're like, oh, it's so cool. It's feel like, yeah.
Yeah.
You ask them where they're from. Oh, yeah, I was at Oklahoma City. Like, I'm from Oklahoma City.
Yeah. Right. You start to mention places and stuff. Dude, you ever been to Flashies? Dude, the ice cream joint in the corner. There's a kid.
So excited about it.
Yeah, it's cool. They love talking about that stuff.
Bojangles is the one that people love to talk.
Really?
Biscuits, man. I miss Bojangles biscuits.
Oh, that's the best. I bet you can imagine. Dude, I can only imagine. Well, you get there with Chicago guys. Chicago, it's all hot dogs and beef sandwiches.
Right.
Portillo's is our joint.
Oh, okay.
So that's the place where if you mention Portillo's, you're like, oh my God, I love Portillo's. Beef, a double beef dip with peppers.
It's always food.
It's always food, right?
It's
Yeah.
always food.
I know. It is for me. I love food. It always brings me back.
You wouldn't know it, but I love food.
I did. I know. It's great. Well, breakfast this morning at Emerald's, man. I've been thinking about those shrimp and grits all week.
So good.
I always save it for one day. Okay, one day I'm going to Emerald's. From just one day, I'm going to go down there. And I ordered too much food, but I ate it all.
You did.
Man, it was good.
Mild it down.
Yeah, that's good stuff, man. They got good food in this ship.
I was amazed. Like, it's the first time I was like, oh, like this morning when we were walking out, I'm like, I've never seen any of this.
Yeah, see, there's still parts of the ship. What's down that way too is the kitchen. You ever seen the kitchen experience?
Mm-mm.
Tommy Drake's got a brilliant joke about it, by the way.
Of course he did.
Yeah, right. But they have a kitchen where you can go in there, you can make your own. They show you how to cook your own food and stuff. And he goes, Carnival's so successful, they're going to open up. I'm going to butcher the joke. They have the housekeeping where you get to go in and clean up the rooms, and then also there's the mechanic one where you get to go and it's brilliant. And he did it like right early on when the ship, it was right when the Mardi Gras launched. So I saw it naturally. I'm like, dude, I go, that's classic Tommy Drake.
Yeah.
I go, it's a perfect joke. It's well written and it's like right away.
Yeah.
It's just really good.
He is really good.
I love working with Tommy. Sometimes last time I worked with Tommy, it's a lot of times I tell him, I go, dude, watch my show and tell me what you think.
I do the same thing.
Yeah, he's the best for it.
I had never worked with him, and then we worked together in Alaska, and I was like, just met him, whatever, did the show. Next day we went to breakfast. I go, all right, so you're the maestro, you're the guy.
You're the maestro.
You're that guy. Like,
yeah.
What do I need to work
on? You're the Godfather, yeah.
What do I need to work on?
Yeah.
I'm still at that point where I'm still looking up to all you guys.
Yeah.
And just trying to like glean information and learn and try to get better.
Yeah.
Like I have no idea. Sometimes I feel like I have no idea what I'm doing. You just get on stage, you're like, what's going on?
Right, and you're just trying to fit in.
Yeah.
That's all right, man. I was like that for a long time, man. I don't have that. I don't have that anymore it's not the comedy. With the ships, it's usually fitting in on the lifestyle and whatever the particular ship is. You know what I mean? Like it's amazing when you go to other cruise lines. Every cruise line acts differently, and they have different rules and sets of structures and expectations for you being on the ship.
Right.
So I want to know what they are when I get on. Because some are like, don't do this or this, and you can whatever.
Yeah.
And really, it comes down to employee manifest or crew manifest, guest manifest.
Yeah.
And if you're on the guest manifest, you do whatever. There's nothing. I remember the first time I did a princess ship, I was blown away. They still had the old school Filipino mafia. Have you ever heard of the Filipino? Back in the day, Happy was one of those guys. Happy did the first ship. He was the first cruise ship comedian. Back then, ships were crazy. The I-95, people were drinking and smoking. I mean, there was a lot of chaos going on. I didn't see any of this stuff, but I remember hearing stories about it. And I mean, the crew would do all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
you smoke in your room. They had parties. It was just like it was like watching a movie.
Rich Purpura?
Yeah, he lives in Fort. I know him. Magician comedy. Yeah.
Yeah, they brought sand from the beach in suitcases.
Oh.
Into his room, and then one of those blow up palm trees.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Yeah, no, they got away with that stuff all the time. What? Well, they used to have a Filipino mafia, which is that meant at any time, any day, you can grab your phone. If you're at a party late at night, 3 a.m, and you're out of booze, you call. I need 2 bottles of vodka, a case of beer, and whatever. Okay, click, and you hang up, and they'd show up. They'd bring it to you. Here you go, and it costs you whatever you paid for it, whatever, or in change. But they were always there. You could always find them. You could always get a hold of them. And no matter what time of day, no matter what you need, my TV's broke. Okay, click, and they'd come in with the TV. I mean, they always found a way to get you something.
That's amazing.
They don't have that. They're very policed, and everything's policed. Yeah. But the first time I went on Princess years ago, we were out of Copenhagen, and I was at a party, a cast party, and this is what they were still kind of doing. They had it still. And they go, but they're down because the guy was sick. So they go, we can't, the mafia's down tonight. What do we got to do? We need drinks. We're out of drinks. And they look at me and they go up to the nightclub and get a bunch of Long Island iced teas. I go, what? And they go, no, just go on up there. They won't just go get get 10 Long Island iced teas and bring them down here. I go, are you serious? I go, and he goes, yeah, come on, I'll walk you out there. And they take me the crewway up the door, and there's a door that opens right into the nightclub. The door opens, there's 2 security guards standing right there. Right? And I'm like, and this is after I started on Carnival. Okay. Right? And Carnival, it's crew list, and it's very different. We have rules we have to follow. We can't go, on Norwegian, their crew list is you have a curfew. You can't even be out past 1 or whatever. Oh, wow. Yeah, every crew has a different thing. And here, now they have 1 drink at a time. They used to not have that, but here's, so anyway, they open the door, and I'm like, hey, what's up? And the guy goes, we're having a party at Tupos. We need some drinks. And security is like, oh, come on in. I'm like, okay. So I walk up to the bar, and he goes, what do you want? I guess 10 Long Island iced teas. And okay. And they make them up, security guards. So where are you from? Chicago. From Chicago, we're talking, blah, 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 blah. So he brings me 2 trays, 5 on each. The guy that walked me up couldn't come in because he was crew, so he was in the hallway. But I was a guest entertainer. I could do whatever I wanted to do, apparently. So I grabbed the tray. I go to grab the second tray. Security goes, I got it. So he walks into the door, right? I'm carrying one. He hands one to the crew guy, and we walk down the stairs and go in with 10 Long Island iced teas. Nobody batted an eye. Nobody said anything the next day. Nobody said anything. And I was like, I can't believe that just happened. I can't believe it was weird to me. No one yelled at me. It was interesting. Some of these and Princess, on that you walk around with some of them no name tag. Nobody asks you anything in crew areas. They just know you're an entertainer.
Wow.
Like, what are you doing here? Comic. Okay, see you later.
Yeah.
That's it. End of story.
I remember I was on The Breeze or something like that. It was me, comic, a fly on a juggler, and then one of the soloists. Just in that hallway, on deck 6 above the nightclub.
Oh, God, yeah.
We're just having a party, right? Just hanging out.
Right.
And they go, hey, let's go down and get some ice. So we all go down, go to the bar, get some ice.
Right.
I get some ice. I turn around because there was a security guard came in, was looking at us, kind of writing stuff out. Like, oh, she's writing her names down. Go. Yeah. And they all took off, and I turned around. And I'm like, where did everybody go? Oh. So they went one way, and I went up the other way, and the boat was rocking, and I kind of hit a step. And a piece of ice fell out. She goes, you, come with me. I'm going to breathalyze you.
Security guard? No!
I was like, well, guess I'm done,
Yeah.
Because I'd already had too drunk.
Right.
But it wasn't because I was drunk. It was just the shit.
Yeah.
I think.
Right.
And then we came up, and another security guard saw me. He's like, hey, how you doing? She goes, oh, he's going to breathalyze. She goes, oh, I'll take care of it. Okay.
Yeah.
He walked me up to my room. He's like, done.
Yeah. That's what's amazing. That breathalyzer thing kind of blows me away. There was a girl I know that was a singer, and she was great. She was really sweet, and she had a day off in Cozumel. She was off. She goes to Cozumel. She gets to her cabin, lays down, gets a call, ring, hello. come on down, we're going to breathalyze you. And she's like, for why? Because it's just a random. We have the right. We can random. They can do it.
Yeah.
So she popped. And they fired her on the spot. And she was like, I'm off tonight. And I'm like, so I never understood why that was in.
Hey, I don't know. It's weird. Have you been drug tested ever?
A couple times.
Okay.
Yeah, but they're also random.
Yeah.
And they apologize. Both times I got drug tested, I've had the cruise director go, dude, I'm sorry. And I'm like, all right, whatever, I guess, but I'll go.
I need to chug some water because I just peed 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, right. I don't know what to tell you. Plus, I'm full of heroin. But the random thing was for the entertainers, I mean, any of them kind of. And now I think they got to work on this marijuana thing, man, because
it's changed the rules, the law. It's so different.
Well, it's also the least. It's the least dangerous drug, really, and it's the one that stays in your system the longest.
Yeah.
And because it's so strong now, it can stay in as long as 6 weeks.
What?
Yeah, it can be a long time. I don't smoke pot anymore, but I like gummies.
Yeah.
I'll do gummies a lot.
It's a lot.
But never when I'm on. A lot is when I'm not working Carnival. Okay. You know what I mean? And I'll look at the calendar and I'll. In fact, I was home last week. The girls are like, "Can you do gummies?" And I go, "No, I got a lot of Carnival for the next month and a half." And they're like, "Oh shit, when can you do gummies again?" So I look at the calendar. I go, these 2 days. There's like 2 days in September. I go, I can do these 2 days. And they're like, okay, cool. We'll do gummies that night. Okay, cool. And I always bag. They're always in my room. I have a big bag where there's a place by my house that's on Tuesday. You have a crazy deal, like 2 bags for $8. It was a crazy deal where we'll get a whole bunch of them, and I'll go just grab them, and I'll just keep some in there. Always leave 3 in there in case I want some.
So I know nothing about this stuff. Is it? I've heard that there's like different versions of it. They'll make you feel different.
Yeah, there's sativa, and then there's what's the other one? Indica. Indica is the one that it'll get you stoned. You can smoke it at night. Sativa has a little bit of a stimulant in it, so you can smoke it during the day, and you can be buzzed but not like fall asleep buzzed. Indica is straight hardcore, and first of all, it's all way stronger than it was years ago.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So if you're smoking, it's one of the reasons I don't smoke pot anymore. Plus, I don't like to inhale stuff into my lungs.
Right.
I'll smoke cigars occasionally, but cigarettes, I used to actually smoke a lot of cigarettes. I can't, even inhaling a joint, I'm like, I just don't like it, So, but it's indica, sativa, and then they have hybrid, which is a combination of the two.
Okay. And
then with the gummies, there's just different milligrams. And then I can usually do maybe 20 milligrams. I really like to do 10 or 20 milligrams and go to a baseball game. And just sit down in Dodger Stadium. Oh my God, it is the best afternoon. Dude, it's 3 hours, sun, or even night game, just chilling. Water, no beer or nothing.
It's feeling great.
Just, oh man, it's so, and I love baseball. So you're just into the game, the crowd, the atmosphere, something about being in a baseball game, just a little buzz that works for me. And I'm like, man, this is cool.
Yeah, I still smell them. I smell them it brings me right back. I was a pitcher.
Oh, did you? Were you really? Mm-hmm. No way. Did you play
I got 3. I got 19 different pitches.
What did you play college?
For just a year.
Okay. Dude, how fast did you throw? Were you up there?
Fastest I ever threw, probably like mid-80s, 84, 85.
Still, dude, that's insane, man.
But it's all leverage,
Yeah.
Like look at Pedro Martinez, right?
Yeah.
It's all just that winding, just uncoiling.
Or Tom Gordon, another,
Tom Gordon.
He's a little guy, short guy.
Yeah.
That 102 miles an hour closes. Yeah, just threw a fireball. They had a little small arm. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I remember when they used to put cages in ballparks. They're in cages. Almost every ballpark now has a fan.
Yeah. Where you can go up and whip it.
Yeah, and I'm like, I
watch guys throw out their arms.
Oh, dude, I was one of those guys. I was like, I'll show you, man. I gotta think I'll hit 80 something, and I put everything I had into it, man. Everything.
42.
62. I'm like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. Really?
It's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah.
You just don't realize how fast it's going.
No, I've also been in a batting cage. We have a batting cage. I play softball.
Yeah.
I used to. But they have a cage that does 100 plus. And I've stood in there once or twice. And I'm like, I just I go, I can't do this.
You hear the whistle.
It scares me.
Hisses.
I'm like, Jimmy Pardo's got a great bit about it. Yes, he's a comic out of Chicago.
Okay.
He's got his podcast, really successful podcast. Never Not Funny. It was one of the first original big podcasts.
Okay.
That's all he does now is the podcast. He does some events here and there.
Nice.
He's a funny dude. Great guy. He's in my fantasy baseball league. He's a great bit. He goes, and he loves baseball. He goes, this is me in a batting cage. I put in a cage, puts the whole bit. Story, got the hat. He goes, here's me in a batting cage at 100 miles an hour. He does it a couple of times. It's so funny.
Dude, that's hilarious.
It's hilarious. But it's accurate. I've seen,
Oh, so funny.
and I've sat behind the whole plate and seen Randy Johnson pitch to some of these guys pop 104. And you're like, the second it leaves a hand, pop! You're like,
Yeah. You don't even see it.
right.
You just hear it.
Yeah, but this what amazes me about baseball players too is because guys talk about seeing the seam and knowing it's a slider or a splitter. I'm like, how do you know anything?
Yeah, I don't. The reaction time.
Yeah, that's a special talent, man. That's
But you know what? Like last night when you were on stage and somebody, it's like, boom, you were there and you had like that line right to them.
Yeah, everybody's got their own.
Where a lot of people will be like, you know what I should have said?
Yeah,
I should have said this.
damn it, driving home, stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But you have it. It's like, boom, right there.
I think it's. But there were years I used to think and drive home thinking about stuff I could have said.
Yeah.
But I think I approached the crowd differently. Like I told,
So then you just make like a Rolodex.
huh?
Do you have like a Rolodex?
No, I stay
stay
in the there's some stuff I've used multiple times,
Sure.
but I try as best I can to stay in the exact moment
Okay.
and then react off something.
Let it come.
Like there was something. Oh, you know what? You didn't see the second. I was watching the footage last night, but there was the family up front. Dude, I spent so much time with them. And I talked about flying during COVID, and turn out there was 2 wives, and there was brother-in-laws, and the names and all this stuff. And the guy, I go look at a guy, go, "Are you one of the husbands?" And he went, "Yes," and his voice is like really high. I go, "Wow!" I go, "Are you just hitting puberty at 65, Bob?" Right? And then they go, it goes on to the COVID bit, and I'm talking about flying during COVID, and I go, "Did you fly during COVID?" And Dana goes, "Yeah, we flew during COVID." I go, "Where'd you go?" She goes, "Africa." I go, "What?" I go, "Africa." I go, were you trying to get smallpox at the same time? And then I go, "How many countries did you hit on the way there?" She goes, "Well, none. There was one." I go, "Well, none." I go, "Well, where'd you go?" She goes, "Well, first we stopped in Switzerland." I go, "That's a country." Right. Right. And then and I looked at the guy right away. I go, "How did you two in Switzerland?" Be like, "Yo!" And I just made up this thing. So I try to just create stuff on the spot as much as possible.
Yeah.
You know, because that's, for me, that's the fun. That's better. You know, that's more fun.
So when you do it, obviously it's years of experience. Do you hear it first and then say it, or does it just come?
I react. You know what? No, I do hear it first, but it's quick.
It's quick.
You know what I mean? But it all comes from, it's an improv mindset.
Yeah.
It's a complete improv mindset. Improv made me a better comic, and once I learned to really properly bring those skills on stage, like David Cross does a lot of reaction stuff off the crowd.
Okay.
But he also hates when comics do it because he thinks that's all stuff they always do. It's just repackaged.
Sure.
And I'm like, yeah,
you've seen it.
Yeah, but improv does the same. They use the same techniques.
Right.
But so all I try to do is stay in the moment and react.
Yeah.
So that's what improv is all about: listening and reacting. Yes, and yeah, and boom.
Yeah.
And so I try to do that, and I'll react immediately. And then if it doesn't work, then I'll try to take it as far as I can, and then I'll try to connect it with something else.
Okay.
Like I did with Bob, then I brought it back to her flying.
Yeah.
And then I brought it back to the guy John on the left that talked to me. Yeah, and I just connect as many as I can.
That's
Because
cool.
once I say one, I go, "Oh, this will connect with this."
Yep.
And the crowd just sees you connect one with the other, and they think that's brilliant.
Yeah.
You know, they're like, "Oh my God, it's brilliant." And I'm like, I'm just reacting.
Yeah.
But I think what helps is it's the confidence on stage and the trust in yourself. And that's what improv comes down to.
Yeah.
You can't be up there trying to be funny and trying to find a laugh in improv. You got to be in the moment, listen and react to what happens around you, and let things happen organically.
Right.
And so I just try to bring that in the stand-up. And that's how I learned to do my crowd work. I used to use my crowd work to attack the crowd or point someone out or make fun of them.
Sure.
And now I don't do that. It's much more of we're joking around. And a lot of times I'm the guy that makes
Yeah.
more times I screw up.
Yeah.
I go, you know what? And I'll even acknowledge it. I go, you know what? I'm the asshole. I apologize.
Yeah.
I'm 100% wrong. I owe you an apology. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll just do that, you know? But it's all about being in the moment, listening, reacting, which is it's just a simple improv technique, which sounds simple, but it's not, because when you're on stage, even when you're especially on stage alone,
Yeah.
you know one wrong line goes the wrong way. But I'm also at a point now where I say one line, it doesn't get a laugh. I just acknowledge it. I'm just, all right, done.
Right.
Like, okay, thanks. Let me give it another shot. You know, you just get it. You're that much confidence. You know you'll get them back.
Right.
You know
you'll get them back.
Well, you know the same thing though. You can tell a joke that doesn't work or doesn't get the reaction you want.
There's still a lot of times where I'm like, oh, I hope they don't hate this. I know it sounds weird, and I know it's like a weird confidence thing, and many people have said just be more confident. Whatever.
Also, experience more. The more you do it, experience. The more you do it, the more you understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and so like for me, like it's weird because 4 or 5 years in, I was just MC, feature like one-nighters, headlining really shitty one-nighters, and then I got into NACA.
Oh right. Thing. Oh nice. Okay.
And I did a showcase, and I booked like 50 schools, and I was like, oh, well then I had to cancel some club day, and so I just did colleges, but I'm only doing 40, 50 shows, and I did like 2 clubs.
Right.
And so I did that, and then I got the chance to go on the ship. So I didn't come up the way most people came up, like through the club scene. We're doing all that stuff. I mean, I worked one-nighters on the road, but I just like 4 clubs I worked.
Okay.
And still now, there's like 3 clubs I work.
Right.
It's all this, and I the military stuff now. But I've been very lucky. I kind of shifted through somehow.
Yeah.
And so in some ways, I feel like I missed out because longevity, I've been doing it this long, but it feels like I've only been doing it this long.
Yes,
when you're doing 50 shows a year versus 300, there's that learning.
Yeah, but what's the word I'm looking for? It's just a different path.
Yeah, it is a different path.
You know, and it's a testament to you because you found a way. I never thought of being on cruise ships, dude. I mean, I had a whole different path. I wanted to act. I was doing TV stuff, but you find a way to reinvent your talent and market it to a point where you're still doing what you want to do.
Well, the thing I learned very quickly was, because when you're doing a school, you're doing a college, you're doing an hour, 50 minutes an hour, whatever, by yourself.
Right.
It's just some kid going, here's a comedian.
Right.
And you're like, okay. So I learned how to open a show, how to do a show, and how to close a show.
Yeah, that's great.
And I learned that very quick.
That's good because a lot of guys don't know that. Some guys just go up and they're funny for 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. They don't know the button it. They don't know the beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah.
And a long show, there's an arc. You because I'm kind of a high energy guy. You can't go and be high energy for an hour.
Still learning that.
Yeah.
I love like pop, 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 pop. And I find like at 22 minutes, they're like, they're catching their breath. So I've had to learn to go, all right, well, take a minute. Right. And we'll ramp out for the last 6 minutes.
Yeah, that's usually like I'll do like on a 50-minute show when my club set or whatever, around 20, 25, I'll either bring it down or I'll do a lot of stuff that has some sort of meaning to it. Like that's what I'll talk about my daughters and social media and the effect of smartphones. It's just something that's significant to me that makes me angry or whatever. But then I close hard for the last 10. So my big thing is open hard, close hard. So and then at that 25-minute mark, and it's not just for you, it's the crowd. A crowd can't handle 50 minutes of you pounding. They can't. They need it. They need a breather. You have to work the room the right way. Yeah. Otherwise, they're exhausted. By the 30-minute mark, they don't care. Yeah, you're like beating a horse and you're doing the same thing over and over again, and you've lost them at 30 minutes.
Yeah, I'm still learning.
So you give them in 30 minutes at a time, and then at that 25-minute mark or whatever, you're connecting with them on a different level.
Yeah.
So now they already know you're funny. Now they know you as a person, and you just close it out with the hard 10. And then at the end of the show, it's perfect. But watch every special's the same way. Yeah. Most specials. Other guy like Chappelle's a different animal. And he's way up there. Yeah. So, and even Burr will do the same. He'll do his thing, but then around 25 minutes, or there's a mark where he'll do a long bit where he explains. Then abortion bit. It's a long. It's toward the end of the set, but he's like, calm down, and he walks him through it, and then he closes the show he wants to close. Yep. And then he picks it back up.
Yeah.
Like I read a thing with him, and I think Whitney Cummings does the same thing. They like to lose the room and then get them back. That's what they like to do. I hate that. Would never want to do that.
No.
I don't ever want to lose the room. I want to go there and get them, and then do some stuff in the middle, and then kill at the end. But somehow they'll find a way to push the crowd so far away, and then bring them back in, which is kind of a philosophy that they follow, which is
it kind
blows
of
me away.
Is it? I didn't really watch the show because it made me uncomfortable. Frasier.
The TV show?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where it was all about creating really a lot of tension, uncomfortable, and then it's released. Is it that same kind of thing?
I guess you mean for them, for their stand-up?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Create tension.
I don't know. Maybe, man. Well, Curb was a lot like that too. Curb was awkwardness and tension.
Yeah. I have a hard time watching that.
Well, I'm not a big fan. Like, I didn't watch a lot of Curb. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in it that's brilliant, but I'm not a fan of awkward situations.
Right.
You know, when I see it, I'm like,
yeah, I know. It makes me uncomfortable. I don't like it.
Yeah, and I don't think a lot of it's not funny. Although some of it is funny the way Larry reacts to the situation, because once you understand the character, you get it.
Yeah.
But just the situation or awkwardness, I'm like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I don't like it. It makes me really uncomfortable to.
Yeah, I don't like to, and well, stand-up does that too. Stand-up likes to go up and he tries to push a crowd away as far as he can.
Yeah. It's probably harder for guys like that because now they have their.
Well, he's a fan base though. Yeah.
And they're like,
no, they love everything.
You can't push us away.
Dude, we used to co-headline these Tribble gigs. We co-headlined a gig somewhere, and he went first and I went second. And this woman was heckling the whole show. She was just horrible. It's the worst. And she was heckling him. He goes, man, and he, stand up. He was like, I remember when I came in to this club and I saw you, and I instantly thought to myself, man, if I could have her, I would be like every other guy in the trailer park. And it kills, and they love it, right? So I go up there and I do my show, and she's heckling me, and I just slam her. I destroy her. The crowd's laughing. The next day, Tribble calls me. He's like, what the fuck happened last night? I go, what are you talking about? He goes, the owner complained about you. I'm like, me? I go, what about Stanhope? I go, I was the guy? No, the Stanhope was fine. They were you, apparently. But so I got yelled at, but I used to get yelled by Tribble a lot. There was a lot. He called me all the time. He was one of those guys that never had the comics back, So if a situation happened, he would call you up and go, what happened? I go, dude, the guy threw a pool ball at me. Yeah. Guy got drunk, did this. Guy did this. Guy did that. He said, well, you can't say that to him, or we can't do that, or you can't piss off I don't want to lose this room. And I'd be like, I was doing my show.
Yeah.
But I was also more of an aggressive comic back then.
Right.
You know what I mean? So a lot of it was very attacking the audience. So I would set guys out the wrong way.
I would love this.
I used to have a guy. There's a guy used to run a club. My first A club I ever headlined, and I used to have back then. I had really long hair, really long, and it was bigger. And I wore like bandanas and roach clips, and
oh wow!
I mean, around my ankles, zebra. It was zebra pants. Wow. I was weird. I was crazy. It was just. I was really into the Kinnison.
You looked like you were on coke.
Yeah, I was on coke. I was completely on coke. I'm surprised I'm alive. I was on meth. I was a big meth head back then. Yeah, dude, I did tons of meth and coke and everything. I was an animal. I'm surprised I lived through that stage. But I would go on stage and I was very attacking and aggressive. And a club owner said to me once, he's like, man, he goes, you got to calm down. He goes, you're a big dude, first of all. You're scaring the audience. I go, yeah, but that's just my thing. He's like, no, it's not your thing. He goes, I go, well, who are you to tell me what my thing is? He goes, trust me, I'm telling you, it's not your thing. Stop being an animal on stage. And I did his 1-year anniversary show for his new club, and he goes, you got to wear a coat and a blanket. And I go, oh, that's bullshit. But I did it because he was the first guy to headline me in a big room.
Yeah.
So I went up and I had a ponytail and I wore a suit, and it was a whole deal. I took the coat off after the first joke.
You looked like Ken.
I looked like Penn. I looked like a fatter Penn, like when Penn was fat.
Okay.
Before he lost the weight.
Yeah.
So I looked just like Penn. Wow. And then I took the coat off after the first joke, but I was still in a shirt, and But after that, it was years after that I started to understand what he meant. Because of my aggressiveness and size, I can scare an audience, and it became much more obvious when I started doing ships and I talked to kids. So you got to be way more fragile about the way you approach a child from the stage.
Yeah.
Because I'm a big, loud dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I just started to understand it more. And it became more about we're all having fun together.
Yeah.
As opposed to I'm doing a show for you guys, shut up and watch.
Yeah.
And that changed my comedy completely.
That's kind of how I am too. Just like hey, let's have fun.
Yeah, it's you're dude. You're like everybody's buddy watching on stage, and and every joke is fun. And there's a little dance, and there's the things. It's great though, but people love it because they get it. It's perfect for your character. You know what I mean? It works really well, and your jokes fit your character on stage.
Right.
Yeah, so it's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something I'm still trying to figure out.
Yeah, but once you understand what it is, it becomes so much easier to write for it.
Well, yeah, I mean,
You know
I
what I mean?
learned, like, when I write something now, I have to go, all right, how can I act this out?
Right.
Because people laugh more, and the physicality,
Right.
as much, if not more, than the words.
Right, or you write a joke and you go, this is a great joke, but it's not me.
Yeah. Oh, I've
You know what I
given
mean?
so many jokes away.
Right. My brother and I do that stuff a lot. So they'll be like, I'll go, dude, you should do this joke.
Yeah.
Or we'll be talking, same thing. Well, like we had dinner the other night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'll go, dude, you should do that.
Yeah.
No, you should do it. Like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll do it.
I'm like, hey, do this joke.
Yeah, right. And it happens a ton of times because you get a joke. Because then sometimes you'll go, this joke is perfect for you. You
Yeah.
should totally do this joke.
Yeah.
You know, why would I do the joke if it's perfect for you? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
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 I think that comes also with being just comfortable with yourself as a writer.
Well, yeah, knowing that, hoping that you'll be able to write something else eventually.
Well, yeah, but you know you will. And you're kind of hoping you are, but
Yeah.
know you will. It's
So-
just the work part of it. So
So, this is just me on a different, like on a human level. Do you feel like comedy comes?
we're because we're dropping off
Yeah.
medical. Okay.
Yeah. Do you feel like it comes from in you or from somewhere else, like through you? Does that make sense? I know it's very like,
that's a really deep question. Man, I don't know how to answer that.
because I'm very much I'm just an instrument.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in that too.
I just try to be the best instrument I can be for whatever it is, source, God, whatever you want to call it.
Well, I think maybe I agree with you. I think maybe it comes into you. But what comes in, a lot of things come into you.
Everything does.
But
And we filter everything.
you filter things the best way you know how.
And that's what I'm trying to learn is because when I said this to you last night, like you have it all comes through this lens.
Right.
Like this is Lenny's
Right.
lens. This is Bill Burr's lens. This is Pryor's lens. Like it comes through that.
Right.
And I'm still trying to get to that. If
Okay.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, so what happens for me still is like, oh, this is a great line. I got to write to it
Right.
instead of from. That makes sense?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Instead of doing the line, starting there and going from there,
Yeah.
building off that.
Yep.
So you're coming from the other side of it. How do I get there?
How do I get there? Oftentimes.
That's a really good idea. That's a good point. They also want to make what turns a joke into a bit or a piece. You know what I mean? Sometimes you have a direction. Like if you're talking about, the stuff about your niece we talked about yesterday.
Yeah.
It's a great example where you were talking about the phone call
Yep.
or the Uncle Richie.
Yep.
Let's wrap this up.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So you're trying to get to it.
Yeah.
To make it funny.
Yeah.
Well, it makes sense because you got to explain it to the crowd so they understand it and it fits your person, your character.
How do you?
You can't just drop it on them where they go, oh yeah, it's funnier if you know what, that's almost like when I used to had a writing job, I used to write develop sitcoms, and you would write sitcoms, and there's two different thought processes going into writing. There's situation comedy, which is there's jokes and you put jokes into a script to make it funny, or the comedy comes from the character organically from situations they're in because of who they are.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, which is the approach I take with my stand-up, and that's exactly kind of what you're talking about.
Yep.
So you want the same approach with your stand-up. It's the same exact thing.
Yeah.
Right, I mean? Because there's guys that just write jokes, one-liners, who are great. I mean, love a good one-line joke.
Yeah.
I love. By the way, I got tremendous respect for that because I don't know how you remember all those jokes.
And to come up with 45 minutes.
Oh, dude, there's a guy in LA called Fraser Smith. He's one of those guys.
Okay.
But he opened for me in Ventura once. And I love him to death. He used to be a radio guy, but he's a one-line guy. He's quick. Every joke is 10 seconds. 10 seconds. Bam, bam, bam. So I go up on stage. I go, you guys just saw 4,000 jokes. You saw 4,000 jokes. I go, I don't know how you. I like stories so much better because I can kind of remember the story.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, story is how, like, you know, the people who do the pi and they remember like 800 digits, you know, in the pi.
Yeah.
They remember by story. So they, like, 3.1 14159, right? So 1, I wake up at 1 p.m. and then 5, I like have 5 sandwich, so you remember, and then I go down the street to 3rd Street, and then
that's the way I do pins.
So they tell their story, so they remember the numbers by the story.
Really?
Yeah, because we remember better by story.
That's really, I never
like from a I don't know, scientific.
That makes sense. That's how I remember every my PIN number, account number, phone. Mine are all sports related.
Yeah.
Mine are all Walter Payton, Dave Kingman. I put the guys in a row. I'm like, oh, okay, I know what that is. I just said one of my pins on the internet, so 3 people know. But I never thought they would do that numerically with like pi, with a long number like that.
I mean, not everybody, but that's how some of the ones, like, I'm sure there's YouTube stuff.
Right.
There's people that have these long, they remember all these things. They just do a story about they.
See, it's interesting the way the human mind works. Like every comic has their own style of the way they approach their jokes or tell their stories.
Yeah.
And they remember their act. And people are like, "How do you remember your act?"
Yeah.
I go, I don't know. I just do now. I mean, I make a set list.
Yeah.
And then I have a short one.
Yep.
But the short one I might look at it before the show, put it in my pocket.
Just kind of.
But then I never really look at it unless I have something new I'm working on specifically.
And then you go, I have to remember to do that right here.
Right.
And you look at the punches.
Yeah.
Like this line, make sure you say this word and
this
word.
Right. And I'll do, mine is like, you have that, of the short version, and then on the other side of the short version will be the long outline of the bit I'm going to do, the new bit. So I'll look over, because then the more time that goes by, that it gets shorter. Right. It becomes awkward. Used to be, met someone in a cabin, back to my room, this, all this stuff, whatever it was.
And now it's just
awkward. Yeah.
I have to know my first 3-4 jokes. Like I don't know how to
open the show.
Yeah, sometimes I have a hard time. I don't know how to get the wheels going.
Right.
So I have to go, all right, say this, and then once I'm going, and then okay, and then it
fits in, right.
Yeah. So the first show, I have that opening joke, boom, boom,
right,
off and running,
right.
But a lot of the other shows, I'm like, I don't know,
right.
Because it is part of it is because I've come to realize I don't have a normal cadence of a lot of comedy. Like there's a sound, like when you watch comics, you're like, ba, 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 ba. And I don't have that same rhythm necessarily.
Right.
And so it takes crowds a minute. Like if I'm following somebody, it takes them a few minutes to go.
Different style.
Oh, okay, this is what he's doing.
Yeah, you got to walk up there and make the room your own on some level.
Yeah.
You got to take control of the room. I noticed it last night. There's a joke I used to open with, and in the first show, I made it my 5th joke.
Right.
I opened up with something else. But there's also a comfortability factor where that first joke, I'm like, I know this joke is going to work. I know it's going to crush. I know it sets the tone.
Yep.
And then I can just go from there.
Yep.
And you do so I flipped it back after the first show. I go, fuck it, I'm going back the other way.
Yeah.
So I opened with that joke. And then boom after that. And even the second show, something happened weird where this couple came in late, and this guy was trying to drag a chair to go sit with his wife. So I go, dude, what do you... So I got off stage and picked up the chair and moved it for him at the beginning of the show. His name was Joe. And I talked to... And I found out everybody sitting there were his friends later in the show. So then I gave him a heart. I go, none of you people got up to help him with this chair. So...
yeah, it's a joke.
But I did it before any jokes. In fact, I started the joke and got off and helped him. And then came back up and just picked the joke back up where I was. And I knew it was a risk doing it. I'm like, I don't know if this is a good idea.
That's so great.
Because I might have to trash the joke.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure I could get back into it.
Yeah.
But then I just go, I'll give it a shot.
That happened to me last night. One of my, I think the third one.
Yeah.
I was in a thing, and I went over here and blah, 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 got some laughs. And then I tried to get back to the joke, and they were like,
we're having none of this.
Move on. Like, oh, okay.
Okay, your call.
Good call.
Yeah. Well, you can almost feel it. You know what I mean? You got
Yeah.
a feeling in the room. If you start the joke or pick back up, you can tell 2 or 3 words in. You're like, A lot of times I'll start and go, never mind. We're not.
Yeah, I was the third show last night. I was talking to some kids, asking them what they want to do when they grow up.
Right.
And the kids were just like, they start, and I did, the stuff just came in. I improv this thing about how it was like Joe Biden just, and they got such a big laugh.
Right.
That afterwards I was like, I had to really dig for 2 minutes to get them back.
Yeah, right. That's funny that a reference off the top of your head crushes like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's a total in the moment thing.
It wasn't.
That's totally being present and going and then listening, reacting to exactly. It's not like you were thinking, I can't wait till somebody freezes up so I can do a Biden joke.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it just was. I was doing an impression of the kids going.
Yeah.
I go, what do you want to do? And he's just like.
Dude, by the way, that is a great joke. It's hilarious. The reference is funny as hell. That has to crush. Sometimes you come up with something that's so good that you've got to drop a bit. And you got to move. You got to go, you know what? This isn't going to work anymore. It's going to work better into this or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, so then I just went with it. And we did the thing about the hot dog eating contest.
Right.
Which they weren't. They were like, move on.
They didn't like it?
Not the first show. The second show, they liked it more. The last two shows that happened.
I love that idea. It's so funny to me. I hate that contest. It's the stupidest thing. It's so embarrassing. My brother used
I don't know how people do it.
eat the hot dogs like that.
Like a hot dog. I'm like, oh, I don't feel
Well, you
right.
ever seen it where they drink the lemonade and make the bread soft and swallow the bread and like I don't know. It's so wrong.
It just
There's people starving in this world and we're shoving hot dogs down our throats as a contest. I mean, how many hot dogs do they go through in that contest? It's got to be 1,000, right?
oh, so
I
many.
mean, because now they do a women's one and a men's one, and there's
Pretty soon there'll be a kids one.
I think they might do a kids one. My brother used to do a bit years ago. God, it was a great bit. It was a bit about a show called Double Dare. There was a show called Double Dare on Nickelodeon.
Okay.
And it was an obstacle course of food. You had to belly crawl through beans or something like
or
this.
chocolate sauce.
Yeah, whatever it
I
was.
vaguely remember that.
He goes, do you ever watch the show? He explains it. Do you know through food? That show should be called Fuck You Somalia. He goes, the people are starving to death over here. We're over here, we're belly crawling through beans. He goes, we should bring those kids over here and let them crawl through and they start to eat the food. Like, no, Babutu. In America, we don't eat the food. It's a brilliant bit. It's just great. But it's accurate. It's like, why are we doing this with food? It just seems like a terrible thing, a terrible image to send across the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a gluttonous thing.
I try to get a joke about how we would send care packages to Africa, right? Like, parachute them in.
Yeah.
And I tried to write a joke about how we had those, you remember the scented, like the candy or the fruit scented Crayola crayons?
Yeah. Oh, God. Oh, my God.
Start eating the crayons.
Yeah.
I could never figure out how to make it funny, but it was just a
Right.
funny idea to me that we'd send these scented, they're like, smells good.
Well, they stopped making them because of that, because kids were eating it. So maybe the joke is they have all these crayons. What do? You know what? Send them to Somalia. Yeah, it's a mean joke, actually. It probably is not cool.
Somebody has a joke about Survivor. Like, we go to this country, we have a game called Survivor, but for them it's just life.
Yeah, it's just like for another country. It's like, this is how we live.
Yeah. I don't know who did it.
All you got to do is wrestle a piranha? You guys got it easy.
Man. Yeah, I could never do any of that stuff. That and Fear Factor and where they eat all the bugs and stuff.
No, I'm not a fan either. There's no reason for me to do any of that. I'm out.
Yeah.
Dude, all right, let's wrap this up. I have a show in an hour.
How you do?
Well, hour and a half. Hour and 20 minutes. Dude, we did over an hour. This was awesome.
Yeah, man.
I'm really glad you were here, man. I mean, I really am. I brought my stuff with me. I always bring it. I'm like, I didn't know who was going to be here.
Yeah.
And I was only here 3 days. I'm like, I don't know if I want to do a podcast. But then when I saw you, I was like, this is perfect. This is great. I had a blast. If you want to plug anything social media wise, do it right to the camera.
Good luck finding me on social media.
Which get something up on. I couldn't find you anywhere. I Googled you. I was trying to, when I was in the resort with the beer and the cigar,
Yeah.
I wonder where Richie is. I'm online looking for you.
Yeah.
Just couldn't find you.
Maison.
Amazing.
Maison does the same thing. I was on his podcast. He goes, and if you're looking for Richie, well, just knock on his door.
Just I kind of maybe you'll find Richie in a hallway somewhere or
Well, I
whatever.
mean, if you go to my Instagram, it's just literally just photos of places I've been.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just nature.
Okay. Well, if you enjoy nature, go to @Richie Holliday. What's the Insta?
It's Richie Holliday.
@Richie Holliday.
2 L's in Holiday. It's literally just
Wow. Yeah, that's funny.
no stand up.
You might want to work on your PR a little bit. Although you're working all the time, so who cares? Maybe it's, you know what I mean?
It's weird, you know, it's like I've been very lucky that I've had enough work
Yeah.
where I don't have to push it all the time.
Yeah. Well, you're funny. That helps. You know, if you're going out and doing a good job. No, it's great to work with you. I like working with good comics, man. Thank you. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, man. Of course. Thank you.
You're still watching? That's amazing. Nobody does that. Nobody, but you did. That means you want more. Pick one of these clips. Go for it. I dare you. Hey, also follow one of those social media thingies.